Hello and welcome to National Focus. I'm your presenter Mervin. Thank you for joining us. Topping the headlines, $500,000 for the upgrade of cargo vessels. Crime prevention and reduction continues to be one of the priorities of the current administration, and an economist is not surprised by the contents of the 2012-2013 budget address. All these stories and more when National Focus returns.
Let your spirit take to flight, let your heart run free and wild, find your soul in Dominica, the nature isle.
Welcome back. Time now for the details of the news. The government is putting the necessary mechanisms in place to ensure that more agricultural produce can be transported by sea to neighboring countries. Prime Minister Skerrit announced that government will make $500,000 available to members of the private sector wishing to upgrade the cargo vessels or procure new ones. The Prime Minister made the announcement during the presentation of the 2012-2013 national budget on Tuesday. Prime Minister Skerrit says this decision came on the heels of a recent study conducted on sea transportation in the Windward Island countries.
The study also noted that the small cargo vessels that constitute the informal traffic offer niche services for the huckster trade, import of regionally manufactured goods from the region, small food and other export industries, and private sector trade, in particular the transport of personnel effects. The view was expressed that these services are particularly suited to small consignments and are provided at reasonable cost. The services were, however, frequently criticized on the grounds of reliability, regularity, scheduling, cargo handling, and public awareness of the services offered. Faced with this reality, Cabinet has approved an initial amount of $500,000 to be made available to the private sector to upgrade their vessels and in exceptional circumstances to procure a new vessel. Government will consider replenishment if the full amount allocated is taken up before the end of the fiscal year.
The Prime Minister disclosed that resources from the Economic Citizenship Program have been earmarked for that activity. Parliament's budget sessions continued on Wednesday with the opposition United Workers' Party presenting their rebuttal to Tuesday's budget presentation by Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. Following the morning session, GIS News asked Senator Honorable Bentley Roye his thoughts on the opposition's comments. He said the UWP was at a loss for aspects to criticize within the budget.
The opposition's rebuttal showed that this budget was above them, that there was nothing that they could criticize about this budget, and therefore they were lost for words, and mainly that's why they couldn't come up with anything positive to say about development of Dominica.
Honorable Roy said that the 2012-2013 national budget is a good one, considering that the government did not increase VAT or add more taxes. He said that Dominicans can count on the government to consider their best interests.
I think this is a great budget. I think the people of Dominica trust this government, and they know that this government will always do what is best for them. And this budget really came at a time when people thought that with some hardship all over the world, that something would go to the, in respect of taxes. But they have faith in this government, and they know that this government will always look out for them.
GIS News also spoke with Honorable Alvin Bernard, who is Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Honorable Bernard felt that the opposition's rebuttal was a disappointing one.
The opposition has established a trend from the inception of this parliament, a trend of inactivity and a total bankruptcy of ideas, probably based on their lack of desire or intention to make any contribution or show any concern for the development of the people of Dominica.
The minister, however, expressed his satisfaction with the budget presentation, calling it a remarkable plan.
When you consider all and sundry, whether in the domestic arena or in the international sphere, the fact that this government, from a small island development state, could put forward a budget that could continue making good on current activities and as well advancing new activities without asking or increasing the burden of taxation on the Dominican people, I think is remarkable.
Honorable Bernard went on to list a few indicators pointing to growth in the Dominica economy, such as increased private credit and increased returns from taxable incomes. Minister Bernard said these signs show economic growth in Dominica's future.
These and a number of other indicators demonstrate that there is a certain amount of buoyancy in the economy. Not total recovery, but a certain amount of buoyancy, and therefore there is some activity that is going on that is preventing the economy from declining, if not necessarily advancing at the pace that we would like it to, but definitely it is not on the decline. It has shown resilience, and I think given the measures, the interventions that the government is making in terms of financing in all the other sectors, all the major sectors of manufacturing, tourism, agriculture, and so on, and of course our continuing effort in economic infrastructure such as roads and others, education and so on, I think the platform is there to move the economy forward once the international or the global environment changes.
In more news, crime prevention and reduction continues to be one of the priorities of the current administration. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, in his address to Parliament on Tuesday, applauded police and customs officers for their efforts in bringing criminals to justice. The Dominica leader said his administration continues to implement measures geared at assisting the police in their efforts and ensuring the safety of Dominicans and visitors to the island.
As promised, we have been meeting with communities to discuss the matter of crime and efforts to address it. We have all increased surveillance in some of the problematic areas, made possible with the appointment of additional special constables, which number 20 so far. It is a view that the penalties associated with crimes such as theft, robbery, burglary may not be sufficient to deter would-be perpetrators. The Ministry of Legal Affairs will undertake a review and will advise Cabinet on possible amendments. In the meantime, Madam Speaker, government acknowledges the attempts by the private sector to partner with government agencies in fighting crime. Government therefore will facilitate the efforts to install closed-circuit cameras in strategic areas, and as such will allow security cameras and other related equipment to be imported free of duty. The precise list of items will be published subsequently. This measure will become effective 1st September 2012.
Nationals may soon see an increase in the number of taxis and buses on the island. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, in his address to Parliament on Tuesday, announced incentives geared at upgrading the fleet of these operators.
Cabinet has already approved a special program of concessions for taxi drivers registered with and certified by the Discover Dominica Authority. It is proposed that this concession be extended to all buses, those carrying in excess of 10 passengers, used for public transportation. The current rate of import duty on such vehicles is 10%. A bus owner would be eligible to one bus free of import duty, and he should not have benefited from any other concession on another vehicle for a similar purpose. To benefit from these concessions, the owner should be in full compliance with the payment of licenses and registered with the Dominica Social Security.
There is growing concern by the current administration of the alarming incidence of visual impairment, glaucoma, partial and total blindness on the island. Most have been discovered through the eye care program, which is being executed in collaboration with the government of Cuba. The Honorable Prime Minister Skerrit says government is seeking to address this from examinations from the primary school level.
One of the amazing lessons learned was the importance of early detection and prevention. Furthermore, it has been proven that impaired vision is oftentimes linked to dyslexia and other causes of underperformance by children. The Government of Dominica is very concerned about this and is currently discussing with private sector interests and specially trained professionals a novel initiative in which, over the course of the next 2 years, will mandate that all school children undertake a complete eye care, starting with a comprehensive analysis at the primary school level, involving the provision of examinations, treatment, spectacles, and aftercare at absolutely no cost to their parents. Discussions are at an advanced stage, and I'm optimistic of this program getting underway and impacting the children of this country before the end of this year.
The government intends to provide similar services in dental care. In other news, economist McPherson is not surprised by the contents of the 2012-2013 budget address. Prime Minister Skerrit delivered his 9th consecutive budget address during Tuesday's meeting of Parliament. A post-budget discussion was held at the GIS studios on Tuesday evening and was also broadcast live on radio. Mario was one of the guests on that program.
People look forward to the budget either for increasing taxes or lowering in taxes and certain kinds of expenditure. And for the VAT, for example, there's a lot of talk about the VAT. I was 100% certain the VAT would not be increased, and it would not be decreased either. And it would stay exactly where it was, which is what happened. And at the same time, of course, you have this tinkering on the edges of the revenue and expenditure stream, because given the conjuncture of circumstances where we are, we don't have much space to do grand things. So essentially, it's a conservative budget, I would say, that is basically trying to keep us on the path which we've started off on in 2006.
Meantime, Principal Advisor to the Prime Minister, Edward Lambert, says the budget was a realistic response to the existing global challenges.
I think the average Dominican must have been looking forward to this budget address because the world indeed has become a smaller place. We are familiar with scenes of chaos, demonstrations in various parts of Europe as economies tottle on the brink of collapse, workers widely displaced. I'm sure many families here in Dominica are feeling the pinch from the remissions that have probably dwindled. The barrels have not been coming in the abundance with which they did in the past. I'm sure many families too and individuals have been looking and monitoring at what's happening in the United States with the collapse of the banking system, the housing and mortgage market, and the struggles that country is going through to try to regroup and inject new life into those various sectors of the economy. So people must have been looking forward to, from the discussions I heard, before the budget address, there were rumors of increasing tax, increasing VAT. And so they were prepared, apparently they were bracing themselves for something very severe in terms of the budget address. But it would be helpful, it would be good to know what their responses are now when they realize that the budget was indeed a no-tax budget. The measures for increasing revenue that were introduced were measures really wouldn't be felt by the average Dominican household.
A Dominican historian, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, was also a guest on Tuesday evening's discussion.
The next level would have been to listen very carefully to the governor of the Central Bank of the Eastern Caribbean Monetary Union, if you want to call it that, and his speech which he gave summing up the year's overview of the ECCB. And with that you understand then what is happening within the sub-region. Therefore it would, as Mark Marie said, be no surprise that with those two elements in place, you understand that there are a restrictive scenario in which to produce a budget. And that in the circumstances one would not have expected, as didn't happen, any major tax rises. And the fact is that when you look into the main budget itself of income raising measures, that these are things like the occasional passport, for instance, certainly the economic citizenship, the rise in the payment which those who want economic citizenship have to pay. Sure. These are not things that are going to directly affect the average family or man in the street.
And that's the English segment of the news. We now join McPherson St. Luce for the Creole highlights.
Alors tout le monde, bienvenue à ces nouvelles en créole. Non moins c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, officier quarantine ministre agriculture Ansem, kakouye à ces hoxta pour porter attention, manière yo ka débattre et puis produit agriculture yo ka manivrer. Ansem fait parole cela au ligne de mauvais maladie Black Sikatoka qui a détruit produit agriculture pays là à présent.
Moun qui a hucksters, moun qui ka aller dans local market là pour pas servir trash, pour pas servir ces bitins là yo ka pon pour couchan figure avec bitin. Ça même trash là même ça ni black cigarette ou ka spose ou ka qui ça ou ça transport ça for yon place pour un lot, on place qui pas ni maladie ou ça mène black cigarette ou ka là. Et nous ka tout monde Dominique planter hucksters pour garder comment nous ça chaîne black cigarette ou ka hot place qui pas ni. Ça très important. Black cigarette ou ka fait dangereux en Saint-Lucie et Saint Vincent nous parler ça fait en Dominique. So nous ka des moun qui ni figue yo pas ka ochiper figue là, moun qui ni banane yo pas ka ochiper, nous ka di yo pour délivrer ça, pour ochiper figue là, nous passons ni pièce abandonne figue en Dominique. So ministre agriculture ka de sous parler figue là, parler avec nous que dou allant l'autre bitin où ça planter patate ou ça planter toute qualité d'autres bitin. So si vous parlez figue, nous cadre vous parler avec nous because nous parler pièce abandonne fil. Yon c'est stratégie pour couper toute figue avec banane qui abandonne pour pêcher maladie à profiter pour pêcher maladie à spread en haut Dominique.
En autre nouvelle, ministère Telecoms Honorable Ambrose George a fait parole qui budget qui premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit délivré en parlement qui bénéficie toute un ministry conduit affaires ailleurs. Ça fait pour mettre mon travail aussi qu'à taper attention au budget cela.
Mon hat Saint-Joe qui est pauvre, mon hat Silver Lake qui est pauvre, pour biocas, pour tirer yo à ce welfare mettre en travail, pour tout communiquer en Dominique, toute place en Dominique avec toute ministry néo capital budget, yo ça fait quelque chose, un ministry pour bas service, pour faire projet, pour mon travail à payer, avec autant mesures qui le Premier ministre a dit pour really mettre mon à travail à Dominique. Mon qui a quitté l'école, plusieurs jeunes moun qui graduate au college ou secondary school. On n'est pour faire de manière qui si on est pour aller à NDFD, si on est pour aller Small Business Unit, on est aller National Development Bank pour trouver l'argent pour commencer en business, pour employer pour employer d'autres monde. C'est quel débat ça nous avons vu qui a budget là présenté K1 avec mon complément ministre Premier ministre ministre pour finance pour manière y présenter budget là ça pour content budget là avec ça qu'a really présenté pour tout Dominicien à payer pour really voir si nous ça implémenter ces bitins ces mesures là budget là qu'a parlé compte nous savons Dominique qu'a été above globe.
Et puis finalement ministre agriculture a mis en place combattre et puis fruit flies qui a affecté l'occasion situation pays là.
Le problème c'est ça nous avons mouche qui a affecté toute fruit nous ça a commencé depuis l'année 1989 le USDA fait une détection avec surveillance sauveillance Dominique pour nous qui a formé nous qui a affecté tout le régime avec fruit nous en Dominique. So c'est ça là nous commencé mettre trap tout pour Dominique pour nous savoir qui a mouche nous qui a affecté le régime nous.
Une délégation technicien en pays là à présent qu'a assisté officier ministre agriculture visiter l'occasion tout un pays là qui affecté.
Les gens ça venir à USDA voyer Dominique pour voir ça nous qu'a fait avec comment yo ça assister nous pour faire ça nous qu'a fait primaire. Les gens là même gens qui travaillent à la fruit fly pour comme une année, yon hot Grenade, l'autre la hot Suriname et yo qu'a fait autant travailler sur fruit fly. So quand yo ici yo qu'a train farmers nous, yo qu'a train extension officers nous pour yo faire yo savent comment pour yo faire travail là pour garder comment fruit fly qu'a travail, comment yo ça identifier les fruit fly là et ça yo pour faire pour contrôler fruit fly.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelles en créole pour à présent. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Au revoir.
When we come back, we'll bring you a few upcoming events and the government notices. Do stay with us.
Let your spirit take to flight. Let your heart run free and wild. Find your soul in Dominica, the nature
All those concerned are asked to note the following hurricane shelters and shelter managers for the communities of Dubic, Marigot, and Wesley. In Dubic, your hurricane shelter is the Dubic Resource Center, where the shelter manager is Corinthia Defo and her assistant is Esther Simon. Marigot, your hurricane shelters are the Marigot Pentecostal Church, shelter manager Hilburn Alfred, and Stowell Charles is the assistant. The Marigot Methodist Church, the shelter manager is Bettina Teat and her assistants are Walter Murray and Marian Samuel. The Wheels Strathmore Stevens School, the shelter manager is Nicholas Mills, assistant Edmund Bonney. The Marigot Roman Catholic Church, shelter manager Matthew Mate with Lovett Charles as assistant shelter manager. Wesley of 5 hurricane shelters are the Wesley Baptist Church, where the shelter manager is Moody Davis and the assistant is Chris Benjamin. The Wesley Methodist Church shelter manager is Hobbs St. John and the assistant manager is Keith Joseph. The Wesley Seventh-day Adventist Church, the shelter manager there is Edney Benjamin, assistant Algernon Shaw. The ground floor of the Wesley Pentecostal Church, where the shelter manager is Delbert Benjamin and his assistant is Raleigh Wilkerson. And the Wesley Christian Union Church, where the shelter manager is Bertrand Telemark. The Ministry of Education wishes to inform the general public of its collection and distribution of textbooks for the 2012-2013 school year as follows. For students attending the 1st to 4th forms of the Northeast Comprehensive School and the Castleboro Secondary School, you are asked to collect your textbooks on Thursday, July 19 from the GSP building located in Bath Estate from 8:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And for students attending the 2nd to 4th forms of the Portsmouth Secondary School and the Dominica 7-day Adventist Secondary School, you are asked to collect your textbooks on Friday, July 20th from the GSP building located in Bath Estate from 8:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Please be guided accordingly. The Division of Agriculture will be conducting a series of sensitization meetings to educate farmers, exporters, traders, and the public on the black sigatoka disease on Thursday, July 19 in the following communities. Dubla, the Duba Community Center at 4:40 p.m., Rivier Sirik at the Rivier Sirik Pentecostal Church at 6 p.m., Gullet River, the Gullet River bus stop at 4:40 p.m., and Sineku at the Sineku bus stop at 6:30 p.m. Please make a special effort to attend and to be on time. Up next, your tip of the day. Get fit with friends or family. Being active is much more fun with friends or family. Encourage others to join you and plan one special physical activity event like a bike ride or hiking with a group each week. And that's National Focus. As usual, we invite your suggestions or comments. Feel free to drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm, or you could visit our website at news.gov.dm, or you could visit our GIS Dominica pages on YouTube and Facebook. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Mervin Matthew. Thank you for watching.
Boy, that fish was well seasoned today, boy.
Talking about season.
Yeah.
What is the most important season in Dominica?
Mango season, yampe season, hunting season.
Hey, wait.
Fishing season.
Nothing to do with any of these seasons. You remember what happened to us in 1979?
Yes.
Remember a few years ago when we bought a grain of fig for $1?
Yes.
I'm talking about the hurricane season.
So,
prepare.
And so just like your budget or your bank account, preparation for hurricane or hurricane preparedness is supposed to be part of our natural culture. It has happened, it might happen, maybe it will happen.
The way we build our houses, you know, so that you not have to go to somebody's house. You know, during a hurricane, you know how it is. People want to bring their cat and their dog and their... You want to go into all this, you cannot ask.
You know, and then you stay too long, you can put on your radio too low, the bagay comes out.
Naturally, if your house is not safe, know your hurricane shelter.
So here's a very important point. Come a little closer. A little closer. Hear this. You can replace your TV or your microwave or your black, blue or raspberry, but you cannot replace your life. Your life is important and is irreplaceable. So protect yourself, take the necessary precaution, because there's only one of you and one of me.
And why should you survive a hurricane? I mean, you survive the storm and then go and be all about and step on a live wire. That making sense?
It is your right and your responsibility to protect yourself and your family and your property. Remember, I ain't seen no supermarket in Dominica where they're selling spare parts of human body or human parts.
No breasts,
no thighs,
no legs,
no wings.
No, only human parts.
Yes, and you only have one of you and it come complete. So protect yourself.
At all times.
This is a serious message
Commission qui bien sérieux
from the Office of Disaster Management
or office là qui va se pour management des désastres
in Dominica.
Let your spirit take to flight. Let your heart run free wild. Find your soul in Dominica, the nature
have uncovered water storage drums around your home? Do you dispose of old tires, cans, and old containers capable of holding water anywhere in your environment? Are you being bitten by mosquitoes, particularly at dusk and early morning? Do you keep houseplants in water? Do you spend your hard-earned cash to control mosquitoes? Has your community experienced dengue fever outbreaks? If your answer is yes to at least 3 questions above, you are at risk to dengue fever. Join the fight against dengue fever. The responsibility for a dengue-free Dominica lies with you. So, get rid of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.